Hey, you've just stepped into the Caring Corner, where life's caregiving challenges meet a whole lot of heart and a dash of sass. I'm Mischelle O'Neal, and I'm here to serve up insights, inspiration, and real life tools to help you navigate caring for your kids and aging loved ones without forgetting about you. Expect everything from time management hacks and emotional wellness strategies to technology tips sprinkled with humor and tenacity. Are you ready? Let's get to it. Hey, and welcome to the Caring Corner. I am so excited today, if you can hear it. So there are two new things that we are doing today. We are going we're going actual on camera. And so this is now an on camera and audio podcast. And I am so thrilled to be able to do that, to be in front of you. And secondly, I have decided to add some phenomenal guests to this podcast. And today we have our first guest on the Caring Corner. Now, I'm Mischelle O'Neal, your host and resident emotional wellness coach. And I'm so excited to be here, like I said. And we're going to have Deborah Hamilton. It's February, and I have with us today the love coach. So come on, Deborah, and I'm glad that you've joined me. I'm excited. Yay! So, Deborah, I just said Deborah Hamilton. So we're just going to get that out there that all of a sudden my mind went blank because I'm so excited. But we are ready. We're going to do this. So before we start, I want to go ahead and read through your bio. Is that okay?
Go for it.
All right. So Deborah is the love coach for married women. Deborah is CEO and founder of Nurture Your Love. She is an international speaker and author of Mastering Communication in Your Relationships and Marriage. And with over 40, I can't believe that girl, with over 40 years of experience being married, overcoming many ups and downs, and helping hundreds of women just like you get to a place of ease and joy in their marriages. And she says that she has created a safe space for you to learn how to communicate your needs, be heard, share your expectations, and become very comfortable with your intimate self. And which one of us don't want to do that? Girl, are we going to talk about that? Is this going to become an X-rated show? No, we can't do
No,
that.
no.
No. So, Deborah, can you share? I'm just jumping right on into it, girl. But can you share a pivotal moment in your journey that led you to focus on the importance of relationships and why you became the love coach?
Well, hmm. What happened with me is, like you brought out in the beginning, that I have over 40 years of marriage. I was married for 34 years, and now I'm married for 7 years the second time. So, what was the pivotal aspect for me was how my first marriage ended. And my first marriage ended shockingly by going on a cruise, getting off the cruise, and being told that my ex husband wants to separate or get a divorce. So you can imagine how I felt, right? How shocking that was. And one of the things that I realized was how much we did not communicate. Like, I'm thinking that I'm communicating, that I'm sharing how I feel and all that. But what I discovered was that he had not shared how he was feeling. Now, keep in mind, throughout the years, we had like a really great marriage. We were communicating, we were vacationing, we were experiencing, of course, children, jobs, and all that, right? But that pivotal moment told me in that moment how important communication was, and to make sure that we are communicating our wants, needs, and desires to each other. So that was like mind-boggling for me, right?
Wow. So with all that said, and I'm just blown away. And I remember us talking about it, but when you hear that story, it's still, it's like, how can you ask yourself, how can I have lived in that environment and been totally clueless that this was
Totally.
on behind the scene?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally clueless.
I'm
Yeah.
like, so with that said, how has learning this and going through this, how has that actually shaped your approach and your philosophy to life?
I the reason why I wrote my book is communication, but making sure that you're communicating properly with your spouse and making sure that you're giving them space to tell you how they're feeling about the relationship, about you, just about everything in the marriage. How do they really feel? And giving them that space to be able to do it. And that's why I say it's when you're talking to me, it's a safe space because we all need to be able to share our thoughts and our feelings with each other. But we also have to make sure that each person is being heard. And that was one of the things that I realized my ex husband did not feel like he was being heard, even though we had many conversations. So please just make sure that not only are you communicating, but that you're communicating effectively. So
Wow.
important.
And I know that you're primarily marriages, but when I'm hearing you talking and when I'm thinking about this, this is actually in all our communication, all our conversations, because I think about how many times are we sitting there and we're talking to someone and we're listening to them. Now, the key word is listening, but we're already thinking about how we're going to reply to what it is
Exactly.
that they're saying. So we're hearing them, but we're really not listening to them. And
We're
and
not
and
listening.
our whole thing is on being defensive and how I got to get back on this. So is that something that you see a lot of or you hear a lot of in your conversations with your ladies?
Yes. I mean that is one of the things that I say all the time to make sure that you're listening and you're listening to understand, not to confirm.
Good one. Listen to
That's right.
understand.
Listen to
Ladies,
understand.
write that one down. Listen to understand. I
Right.
love that. I
Mhm.
do. So, one of the things, another thing is reflecting on the challenges of the women in my group, you know, especially dealing and balancing generational caregiving and their personal goals and their professional goals and their families. They have kids, they have a husband, they have, their jobs and their coworkers. And they spend, really, if we think about it, a lot of times when you have a job, you spend uh, as much, if not more, time with those people than you do with your spouse. And your spouse
That's
usually
true.
gets the leftover time, really, because the kids
Yeah.
need your attention too. And as a mom, you're always, but the kids, and you're thinking, he's a big boy, he can handle this. I'll get to him. Girl, see, I
No.
see you shaking your head
No.
already. So
No.
so what do you see as a common obstacle when it comes to nurturing our marriage relationships?
Well, one of the main things that we need to understand is our children are not first in our relationships. And I know I'm hearing people screaming, yes, they are. No, they're not. Your spouse should be number one. You should always put your spouse first because guess what? Your kids grow up and they leave. And then what do you
Girl,
have?
that's what I was gonna say. That's what I be telling my daughter all the time. She used to go, but I'm your favorite. I'm your daughter. I said, honey, when you turn 18 or whatever, you're leaving this house. You're going. And then I'm here with your dad. So I'm gonna nurture the thing that will be here for me in the end of
Exactly.
the day, and not you who's gonna leave. And she just
Exactly. That is so true. But we um, put our children before our spouse. And don't get me wrong, I know that you have to nurture your children. You have to train your children. You have to teach your children responsibilities. I understand all of that. But one of the things that I always did is I always made sure that my children went to bed at a certain time at night so that I could have the rest of the evening with my spouse. Bottom line, there was no compromise with that. Because if you don't get the opportunity to share your thoughts and your feelings with your spouse throughout the day, that nighttime is the perfect time to be able to share your thoughts, your wants, your needs, your concerns, right? The nighttime when the children are in bed, or like you were saying, if you're a self care provider, if you're taking care of someone, when they lay down at night, that could be your opportunity to talk to your spouse about whatever is going on with you. Sometimes you need to decompress, right? After everything that you've had to do throughout the day, there's a time to decompress. And sometimes it's not immediately talking to your spouse because you're allowing yourself space to decompress. But eventually, you're going to find that time to talk with your spouse, to reconnect with each other. And that's the key, to reconnect.
Don't you think sometimes, and I'm sitting here while I was listening to you talk, and I think sometimes because I hear some of my clients say, I don't want to burden him. I don't want to, and we try to protect our spouse, and instead of allowing them to live through life with us, and allowing them to understand where our feelings and our frustrations are coming. And I'm not saying just dump on them,
Mm-mm.
absolutely, but he doesn't know what's going on if we don't tell him and we don't share. And sometimes, at least with my husband, I find out that when we have those conversations, that he has insights and perspectives that I would have never thought of because we think differently.
Right, exactly, exactly. And let me just say this: our spouses is supposed to be our friend. You talk to your friends about what's going on with you, right? You share all kind of stuff with your girlfriends, right? But for some reason, we don't feel like we can share things with our spouse. Yes, you can. If you consider your spouse your friend, then
Mhm.
you can share the same types of thoughts with your husband, your spouse, your man, whatever you want to call him. You can share that. And like you're saying, you're not going to bombard, but it's a stress relief to be able to talk to your friend, your spouse, about how you're feeling, about what you're going through. And they really want to know because they want to be able to help you, whatever that looks like for you. Not fix it, help you. That is the difference.
So don't you think, especially in the caregiving world, that we think we're the only ones dealing with it because we're doing most of the do,
No.
but they're having to learn how to navigate this change in life also. And especially if it's not like, and sometimes we find ourselves taking care of their parents, but if it's not their parents and it's our parent, is finding that fine line between what I can say. And so on our side, wouldn't it be better for us to say, right now I'm venting. I don't want any advice. Let them
Yeah.
know when you want
Right.
advice and when you
Right.
don't want advice, that you're
Right.
venting. And that way they don't put themselves in a position where it's awkward. So
Right.
how do you suggest overcoming this?
Well, let me just put it in the perspective from me. Like, um, we were empty nesters, right?
Mhm.
And then I got my niece at 18 months, like
Mhm.
no children. We're by ourselves, and all of a sudden, here comes my niece. She's 18 months. Come to find out, she's ADHD. She has sensory issues. She has
Mm.
abandonment issues. So all of a sudden, all of my attention that I was focusing on him, right, changed. That dynamic changed. Same concept when you are caregiving, a parent, right? Doesn't matter on which side. You're taking away time that you would normally spend with your spouse. So you need to be able to check in. I can't say this enough. Check in with your spouse. Ask your spouse, how is he doing? How is he dealing with the changes that are taking place? And you don't even have to say the fact that I'm not spending as much time with you, but you can say
Mm-hmm.
the changes that are taking place in our household or the time I'm spending away from you if that person that you're taking care of is not in the home. Because that was one of the conversations that we had later that he shared with me, that he felt like my niece was taking away time that he
Wow.
expected. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm thinking I did check in, I did ask him. One of the things that I also have to say about my ex-husband, he's passive aggressive. You know,
Ah, okay.
he's a passive aggressive person. So he might have not told you, you know, how he was feeling, but he reacted in different ways, right? To let you
Mm-hmm.
know something
Mm-hmm.
wasn't
Mm-hmm.
right. But the issue is, if that's where that communication comes in. If you're having the conversation and giving them the space, I can't say that enough either, giving them the space to to be able to explain how they're feeling about the changes in the household, about the time that you're spending away from them. That is crucial. So when you're communicating, you guys can work it out where you're actually talking about it, coming up with a game plan, the two of you coming up with a game plan as to what will work for both of you. And that is,
Wow.
to me, the biggest key to resolving the fact that changes has taken place. Things are different now.
Well, it's because it's a mutual decision, a mutual coming together, and it becomes a win-win for both because you're both invested and you have both actually have a buy-in on the
Yes,
solution. And so
exactly.
that's a biggie. And that's something I always talk to people about, a buy-in. I don't
Hmm.
do anything, even with the family and your kids and stuff like that. When you come together as a family and you talk about what's going on and everyone has a buy-in in what's going on, then they're more apt to do the things that need to be done or to be a part of, and they don't feel isolated. And my women so many times feel isolated, but it's because we keep it so bottled up, and we can talk
Yes,
about that too, women keeping stuff inside,
yes,
but we
that's
keep it
true.
so bottled up that we don't share, and we don't allow that space for help, and we don't
Yes,
allow that. We feel like we have to be super women, we have to be Shira, if you're old enough to know who she was, but but yeah. And so with that said, I want to ask, could you share a specific strategy, tool, or practice that can significantly impact our listeners, especially those, that are trying to have balance and emotional wellness in their generational caregiving role? So what are the things of everything we talked of, or something you haven't even talked about, and I do want you to touch on, I'm going to throw this in, a little bit about the intimacy, because girlfriend is tired when she lays down at the end of the day. So I do think we probably need to touch on that too.
okay, all right. Well, one of the things that I really share with my women, because I also have a Married Women's Forum that I do bi-weekly on Wednesdays, and I'm
Mm.
constantly telling them, who are you? What do you want? What are your needs? What are your desires? And until you determine that, and of course I can
Mhm.
help you with that, but until you determine that, it's very difficult to express to your spouse, even to other people, what your boundaries are, what your expectations are. So it's spending time with you to figure this out, to be able to express it to someone
Right.
else. That is like the biggest aha moment, right? And this is an aside, but this is important because I was away last week and I stayed with a friend of mine, and we were talking about expectations. And she was shocked that I knew at 22, because I got my first marriage, I got married at 22. She was shocked that I knew what my expectations were at 22. Because
Wow.
she said when she was 22, she had no clue, because I knew who I was, because I spent time with me, because I figured out what I wanted, what my desires were, what my needs were. So I was able to express that to my fiance at the time, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
What I wanted out of a relationship, because I saw what happened with my parents' relationship. And I knew that I didn't want that. So when I'm talking about knowing your wants, your needs, your desires, your it's part of expectations, right? So you're
Hmm.
gonna have to spend time with you. Spend time with you trying to figure it out. And sometimes you don't and sometimes because we're caregivers, because we're wives, we're mothers, we're hey, I took care of my whole family, and that included my parents, my siblings, my grandmother,
Girl.
my aunts and uncles. So believe me, y'all, I know what it's like. Okay. So when you take the time, even if it's 5 minutes a day to journal something,
Preach.
if you just take 5 minutes to journal what your thoughts are, how you're feeling, like something's happened. How does it make you feel? How is your body responding to what has taken place? Because we don't pay attention to what's happening with our body when we're going through something, and how that stress is affecting our body, right? And when it
Hmm.
comes to
Hmm.
intimacy, ladies, you got to find that time. You got to find that time when it comes to intimacy. And
Wait. I gotta say, forget. Let's take that word "find" out. I am so sorry for interrupting. We gotta make the time.
you know what? It's a process. It's a process. So I'm not trying to scare anybody. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
It's a process. We're going to make time, but we got to think about it first,
All
right?
right.
We got to think about it, and we
Come
got to
on back.
process it, right? We got to process it. So we can make the time, but we got to process what time we want to make, right? What does that look like? How can we go about it? So it's a process, and it's not something that's just like that.
Oh
Okay.
no.
So think through it and then figure it out, right? So what I say is sometimes we don't think about this, but when
Hmm.
we're dealing with intimacy, we start outside the bedroom. We start thinking about what we want, how we want to be treated, and how we're treating our spouse. I've been doing lives talking about teasing, flirting, and seduction, right? I've been talking about that because I'm doing a workshop on No More Nice Girl, reigniting passion in your marriage, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I've been going live talking about different aspects of it. So start out with your thoughts about what you could do outside the bedroom. And it's something as simple as the little tease, when you have a moment and you're not totally exhausted, you could tease your spouse, right? Get that anticipation started, right? And one of the things that I've done with my women is send a card in the mail. We all got to go to the store sooner or later, right? Pick out a card, even if it's a simple card about I love you or I'm thinking about you. You have no idea how excited your man is going to be when he gets that card in the mail, because you're going to mail it. You're not going to hand it to him. You're not going to put it somewhere. No, you're going to mail it. And his name is going to be on it. And he's going to open it up and he's going to be like, wow, because you took the time to think about him. And
So
that is what this is all about, right? When we,
right.
when we want intimacy, we want our man to know, I thought about you. And
Absolutely. So
something
let
that's
me share with you something I ran across the other day, and I've had it for a while, and I pulled it back out. I have in my wallet this little token. It looks almost like a quarter, and it has a heart in the middle. And I hand it to my spouse. You know how you just grab a hand and I drop it in his hand, and it says, good for one roll in the hay, just
I love it. I love it.
so it's just little, like you said, little things like that, or leaving something on the pillow, you
Yeah,
know, or
yeah,
just even doing a heart sandwich, any small things just to say I love you and I'm thinking of you enough to show you.
yeah. And just one other thing that is so important, that we we get so used to our spouse that sometimes we don't think to hug them or to kiss them. You know, if you just take a moment, and let me tell you something. When you hug your spouse, they're hugging you back, and that hug could be for you, right? Not
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
specifically for him, but both of you are getting that connection, that closeness, that intimacy that you both need because of the situation, because of the dynamics that's happening in your household. Something as simple as a hug and a kiss can go so far. So keep that in
Awesome.
mind as well. I have lots of suggestions, you guys. So, but
Girl, and I want to be able to put this on YouTube without having to put that 18, 18 or older thing. And I'm
no,
already thinking, oh my gosh, do I have to put that on? So
no, 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 no.
no, no, I mean about what we said already, but it's okay. I'm I'm I'm
We
I'm
talked
gonna
about the
ask some
part. We talked
experts.
about hugging. We
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good. So now this has been so great. I don't even know how long we've been on here because I just wanted to have the conversation. So thank you so much for it. So I got one more question on
okay.
a personal note.
Okay.
What's one piece of advice that you wish you had received earlier in your journey, and how would it have changed your
Mm,
path?
mm. That's a tough question for me because, hmm, because I've been my own advocate,
Hmm.
right? I've been in a family that lives in a 9 mile radius, so I didn't get anything from my family. But it was one of my friends years ago
Hmm.
told me that I have to care about me.
Hmm.
I have to put myself first in certain situations so that I can love on myself. And
Exactly.
is a huge that was a huge takeaway for me, even though I've always felt like I love myself and I have lots of confidence or whatever. But that remained in my brain, that I have to take care of myself. I have to love me. And I tell my people all the time, if you don't love you, you can't teach anyone how to love you back.
Oh, girl. Say it again.
If you don't love you, you can't teach anyone how to love you back. And that is so, oh, that one right there.
And that's what I tell my clients. I say, you have to love yourself, you know, well. I don't want to say first, but I like to say well, but not to the detriment of others.
No, never,
and
never.
and and I think that's, people say first, that means I'm being selfish, but I'm
Mm-mm,
saying not to the detriment of others.
mm-mm,
But if
never.
you don't take care of yourself, how are you able to take care of others? If you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to, like you said, teach others how to take care of you and
That's it.
themselves? So
That's
it's
it.
a whole, how do we teach something that we've never experienced? I mean, you and I wouldn't be doing what we do if we hadn't experienced it, if we hadn't gone through it. Book
Right.
knowledge is great, going to college, all that, getting these certifications, all that is
Mhm.
great. But until you've lived it
Lived
or
it in
some
some way.
way felt it,
Yes.
you're still not going to talk to your clients or other people on the level that you need to. And
Well,
so, absolutely, how can you talk of love if you don't give yourself that same love?
exactly. So true.
Girl. So Listen, I just want to tell my audience while we're here, look, if you have any more questions for us, I'd love for you to put them in the comments. I will pass them on to Deborah, or you can ask me any questions about generational caregiving. And, hey, we're women, and we have big lives and we got
Yes.
a lot going on. So I just want to go back over. We talked about the importance of communication. We talked about the importance of loving ourselves. We talked about the importance of intimacy in our relationships. Did I miss anything, Deborah?
No, that's basically it because and it covers so many things that we talked about.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I want you to, if you haven't had the chance to be here with us the whole time, look, come back and listen again, because I can guarantee that you're going to hear something that you didn't hear the first time. So I would love for you to, and again, you are on the Caring Corner, and this is Deborah Hamilton. Deborah, is it Barnes?
Yes.
I don't know why it hit me all of a sudden. Deborah Barnes-Hamilton. And
Yes.
she is here with us today. And I am so excited that the love coach, I feel like I should be singing the love boat, but the love coach is here with us today. And let me see. Again, I want to thank you, Deborah. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day, because I know that you have clients that need you, and you have a bunch of programs going on. And so,
Yes.
with that said, I would love for you to tell us how to get in touch with you
Okay.
and some of your programs going on. And I will make sure that I put those links in the bottom so they'll know how to get in contact with you. And just tell us what's going on in your life before we close.
Okay, thank you. My main focus is on married women. That's what I focus on with everything that I do because we, just like we were talking about, married women have everything coming at them at one time. So I want to be that safe space for you to be able to share, to be able to be a part of a group of women who really care about you, who are in your same situation, right? Or that could give you input, suggest I do suggestions and tips as a coach. Um, but I have a Married Women's Forum that I do bi-weekly on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. I am doing monthly a No More Nice Girl, Reigniting Passion in Marriage workshop. And the next one is going to be March the 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. So if anybody is interested in that, just like Mischelle was saying, she's going to put the links there. I'm having problems with Facebook and uh, Instagram right now. They knocked me out for some reason. So if you need to contact me, you can contact me through email, nurtureyourlove@gmail.com. So
Awesome.
those are the different things that I'm doing right now. But if anyone is interested, I also do a self love workshop that really helps you to understand self love, self respect, self confidence, right? All those things, self esteem, all those things that we need to really get to know who we are, right? And I share a lot of this also in the Married Women's Forum. So please contact me if you want more information on what I do. I cannot wait to meet you.
Awesome. And I really love that in a lot of ways we understand together the importance of self love, worth, esteem, and how we progress in our life. That is so important with my women as well,
Hmm.
because they're dealing with so many aspects of life. It's not just one or two things. You're the master of many,
Of
because you
many.
have to master all these. And it's like juggling a bunch of hats, or you know, just trying to do this in life and feeling like so many times you're isolated or alone. And so I want to thank you once again for being here on the Caring Corner. And I want to thank my audience for spending this time with us, even though it may be a little bit longer, but I have had a ball. So tell me, what do you think about having guests on the show? And don't forget, so you don't miss our next episode, make sure that you subscribe and even leave a review. So until next time, take care. Thank you for being here. All right. That's a wrap for today at the Caring Corner. We've tackled some big topics, but remember, you're not in this alone. Subscribe to keep the wisdom and warmth coming. And stay tuned for amazing guests who'll be joining us to help round out your caregiving toolkit. Catch you next time and keep conquering those challenges.